Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Morhonda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one!
Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor.
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Welcome in, everybody, to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. I am not your host, John Alden, but I'm going to bring in your host, Mr. Jim Coyle, live from BB's Market. Jim, are you with us?
Yeah, can you?
Well, we could hear you for a very short, brief moment right there at the beginning. While Jim is getting connected, as always with us is Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com. He is not live at BB's Market. He is coming from the friendly confines of his home in Gainesville, Florida.
His office.
His office in Gainesville, Florida.
That's right.
I tell you what, speaking of Outsider, we talked about this before the show started. You're sending us some Outsider coffee that I'm super excited to be trying. Have you had it yourself yet?
Yes.
Or are you getting some for yourself?
I've had the dark. I've had all roasts. I've had the dark, the light, and the decaf. So I'm excited for you guys to try it, see what you think. By the way, if you like anything I've worn on here, hat, t-shirt, sweatshirt, I got this baby on. We've got some great mugs. Everything half off right now, so you can get some good Christmas shopping done. Not to do too much of a promo there, but we got a lot of good stuff. So go to outsider.com, shop, and see if there's anything on the website that you might enjoy.
I tell you what, speaking of Christmas shopping, I understand that it's that time of year, and it looks like Jim's back in with us.
No.
He's not with us? Okay, he's not with us. We'll let him bring himself in whenever he's ready. But speaking of Christmas shopping, I can't tell. I really love how on November 1st you start seeing like signs of Christmas, whether it be advertising or music a little bit. But at the same time, it seems a little pushy. And I get it. Some people like you, Dustin, you bring out the Christmas jazz on November 1st. Sporadically. It's not like that's all you listen to from now until December 25th. But I want to just ask you the generic question that you've been asking everybody, which is when is the right time for Christmas music? But is there a reason that there's so many people who have different tastes? I guess, I mean, we're all human beings, right?
Right. Well, I think there's still that holiday there, right? There's still Thanksgiving, and it's still technically fall before you jump into winter. So I think that there's just this like 2 full months of Christmas, if you're not a Christmassy person, can get a little bit extreme. So I get that part of it. But for me, I just love the holiday season. I've lived in the South now since 2016. And the other part of it is, too, I think there's almost like a difference between the Midwest and the South, right? Like the Midwest, you get that winter. So you want to hang on to fall and some of those warmer days as long as you possibly can before you get into the snow and the sleet, the ice, all that crap. You don't really get that in Georgia and in Florida, right? So for me, it's going to be 75 to 85 degrees every single day. So it's a nice reprieve from that type of weather. So that's why I enjoy breaking out the Christmas music a little bit early.
Oh, shut up. A reprieve from 75-degree weather. Are you kidding me? We need a reprieve. Sorry about that start there. I don't know what happened. But how's everybody doing? Talk about reprieve. We have been given a reprieve. Well, it's only November, but back in the day, I would always think November was getting cold. We got some 70-degree days, man. What was it yesterday? Like 74 here. That's amazing. Awesome. I'll take it all year round. But we got plenty to get to today. Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com is on the program, which means we'll get to talk about some IU basketball last night as they had their second exhibition game. And I got to tell you, that was like watching a high school all-star team, St. Francis. Just the size. They just didn't have the size. But I'm going to tell you one thing. Brayton Bailey gave all he had on Race Thompson. Brayton Bailey is 6'1", and he was tasked with guarding Race Thompson. And, buddy, he was down on the block, shoving, holding, pushing him, doing whatever. Race only ended up with 4 points. I'll have to pull the stats back up, but he did not end up with a bunch of points. They kept him frustrated. Why he was the focus, I don't really know, because Malik Renew is the guy. But Indiana's front court is formidable.
Yes.
I don't know who you could. Malik Reneau could start today. That I promise you. You basically have three: Race Thompson, Trace, and Malik. Man, those three guys, they're going to be tough to handle. But Malik Renew, his talent is unquestionable. His footwork, he's so deft around the basket. He's got a soft touch. He's got a mid-range jumper. He can handle the ball. And I mean handle the ball. I don't mean just dribble it up the floor. I sent this tweet out last night. He is going to be a problem for teams. And if I think he'll at least be here 2 years, but next year is going to be – he's going to be a superstar. I mean a superstar. And Indiana's going to be very fortunate to have him. So there's no worries about when Trace leaves next year. And, of course, Jalen Hood-Schifino continues to impress. I don't want to make this topic all basketball because we'll get to that with Alec coming up. But it's looking pretty good. Lots of other things going on. What's going on? What else is going on in the world there?
Last night we had a great Game 5 of the World Series. The Astros, Phillies. Kyle Schwarber with another home run, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, and he almost was the hero with a single, man. That ball, he tattooed it, but unfortunately the first baseman was right there, because if he hadn't been right in that position, that ball gets right over that first base, and that's, I don't know if it ends up being a double, but it scores 2 runs. Yeah, there were 2 guys on, right? So that would have been the winning hit. He would have been the hero again. So, but they're not done yet. They're down 3-2, the Phillies. But now it's in Houston. When do they play again?
I think they play again. Today's Friday. I think they play again Saturday and Sunday. I think that's when they close out the series. So, because I think they get a travel day. Saturday and Sunday. So it'll be over by the end of the weekend, and we'll have a World Series champion no later than Sunday night.
Cool. Let's see. Louisville had a very interesting game with Chaminade. Rick Bozich on earlier in the week. We talked a little bit about that, but I saw a tweet of his where Chaminade had scored 16 straight points in that game and were leading at one point before Louisville ends up getting a single-digit victory, I think, over Chaminade. So, hey, man, Kenny Payne, he's got he's in better shape than Tom Crean was. So just think back among those days. But
I don't know if that's true.
Oh yeah, Tom Crean he had nobody. He had 2 scholarship players. Are you kidding me?
I agree with that part of it, but at the same time, I mean, Louisville also. I mean, to lose one exhibition and to beat Chaminade by 7 points, there's going to be some growing pains there. That's for sure.
Oh, they got growing pains, all right, baby, but that's okay. I'm walking around babies here. Look at this. I'm going back where the sausage is made. Actually, it's not sausage. This is the bakery. Look at this. Nice. This is where all the goodness happens, baby. Oh, look, it happens to be right to my right. Can you see that? Can you see what the chocolate?
Oh, that looks good.
Chocolate cupcakes. Are those chocolate cupcakes? Were those for somebody?
Nope, they're gonna ice them.
Oh, baby. They're not for anyone specific. They just need to be iced.
Yep.
The icing. Well, we got to get some favorite icing flavors here. But tell me how hard it is I ignore all this every day. Look at all this greatness. I mean, this is all handmade bakery items.
Yep. I'd be
amazing.
I'd have my own collection if I was there.
I'd be
have one of everything.
I'm lucky I'm not big as a house, but I'm very good at staying away from that. I think they're doing a little work right there right now, so I'm gonna step over here where it's a little bit quieter. How's that? Little brick wall. Put me up against a brick wall.
Oh, I like it.
So what else was going on last night? I was at the game, so I was covering the game in the post-game presser. We had, who did we have? Malik Renew and Jordan Geronimo. Is that right, John? I'm trying to remember.
Miller Kopp was the other one, and we'll have clips from each of them here in a little bit.
Miller Kopp. Okay. And then, of course, we'll hear from Coach Woodson as well. I asked him because everybody thinks that they're going to, they're deep. They are deep. But I promise you this, when they get around to Big Ten play, they're not going to be playing 10 guys. And I'll go down today, so it's in far enough advance. I'll make my prediction of who is going to be playing minutes and who won't be playing minutes. And it's not that they're not playing; it's just they're just not ready. Like CJ Gunn, for example. I love CJ Gunn. Love his game. He can shoot the ball, and it's not that he's not going to play. He's not going to get the minutes that people think that he's going to get because defense. It's about defense, and that came up last night because he had, Mike Woodson's big thing is you got to make the most with the minutes you get.
Right.
And that's the test for this early part of the season. Everybody's getting minutes right now. Everybody's playing. Well, what are you doing with those minutes? And they're watching, and they see what goes on. And he's out there having a very good playing well offensively, and other guys are doing the same. But they look at everything. What are you doing defensively? And that came up last night. Someone said, hey, CJ Gunn had another great night. He was in for, however what he played, 12, 15 minutes. He scored 7 points, I think, shot the ball decent. And Mike's first response, yeah, he made some mistakes on defense tonight, and he went that direction. And that's what he was talking about. And he never talked about the offense or anything else. So that's what he sees. And that's what they look at because you get into games. And last year, everybody kept wondering, why's Kristen Lander not playing? Well, unfortunately, he could not play a lick of defense. None. I mean, he couldn't guard me. And I've got a bad knee right now. And so it's later on when you wonder why guys aren't playing, you can't think of one aspect of their game. Right. You have to think about it in totality because that's what the coaches look at. So,
well, and I think with this team too, they can, even if you're not a consistent player in the rotation, if somebody's having an off night or somebody's not performing very well, they have the ability to go deeper onto the bench and get a guy in for 8 to 10 minutes. They have that ability. And then last night, I mean, Xavier Johnson, a little bit concerning, still 3 of 8, but he didn't push anything.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Only took 8 shots, so I think that's a positive.
Well, Mike talked about it too. We'll hear from Mike Woodson on that very question, as a matter of fact. I'll have to get John to look that up off of the transcript, but he was asked about that, and he commented about it. Said basically he's playing a little too fast.
Yeah. And but they got help around him. Hood Schifino 3 for 3 from 3-point land. Miller Kopp 2 for 2 from behind the arc. Overall, this is funny, Jim. I thought it was hilarious. Yesterday, you said if Indiana can be 7 of 19 regularly from behind the 3-point line, they'll be good. That's exactly what they were last night, and obviously against the Marion team. And now we've got what? Ooh, are those ribeyes?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. Let's see, all the way over there. Let's see. Yeah. That right there. Can you see my hand? Let's see. I don't see my hand. Yeah, those are the ribeyes, baby. Those are these big, succulent, juicy, freshly cut ribeyes. filet mignon right next to it. Ha! Now they usually have, and I like this. Can you get a shot of this? They call it breakfast sausage. And can you see the design there?
Can you zoom in a little bit there? Okay. Oh, looks like bacon.
Well, right next to the bacon on the other side here, I guess.
Oh yeah. Okay, I see it now. Oh, gotcha.
Pretty catchy.
I like it.
They're pretty slick here. This ain't their first rodeo, baby.
Break.
We got to take a break. We got lots coming up today. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com will join us. And don't forget, go to thehoosier.com. Get signed up for a membership if you are not already. Help support those guys that bring you that coverage. 50% off your first year. You get full access. It's premium coverage, everything. It's only like $4 a month. So I know you guys can afford that. And this is how, this stuff doesn't happen for free. Coverage, having to travel to games, all that, fuel. Give the guys a hand at thehoosier.com. There you go, your code IUBB 2022, 50% off. Back with Alec Lasley here at BB's Market, where you can always get the best of everything. Right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're visiting.
Good
Hello,
morning, Alec.
Morning. How you guys doing?
I'm doing well.
All right.
How are you?
Doing good. I'm getting a little busy watching Jim's camera up there, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
I already got raked over the coals.
Who got raked over the coals?
Me. I said for saying a reprieve from the 75-degree weather. What I meant was a reprieve from summer.
I was kidding. I'm just.
No. I mean, but other people. No, it's fine. I was just joking.
Oh, other people are too? Good.
Other people, yeah. I understand. When I looked at it and saw it written out, I was like, yeah, that does sound ridiculous. I meant a reprieve from summer because it's constant until about.
I know that. I knew what you meant. I just used it as an excuse to try to be funny.
Exactly.
So I'm going to enjoy the cold weather this year because the moment it gets hot again, I have to buy a new air conditioner. So I'm not looking forward to that.
Enjoy the next couple months. I actually do like colder weather. I just don't like snow. So 45 is like my low.
Oh my gosh.
See, I don't mind snow, but the cold and the snow have to mix. Like it can't be super cold without the snow, and it can't be just like blistering cold with the wind and the snow, because then you can't do anything.
Exactly.
So snow sucks.
Well, I like
just hate
skiing.
the
So
slush afterwards. The slush afterwards is the worst.
yeah.
I'm at a disadvantage today. I'm having Wi-Fi problems here, so I don't have my access to my laptop, so I'm having to use my phone.
I was wondering why you weren't in your normal spot.
How's the sound?
It's fine.
It's pretty good.
Well, when you say it's fine, but I don't want it to be fine.
I mean, there's nothing intrusive in the background, and you're clear coming through with what you're saying.
I meant, is the microphone sound is good? I can plug a microphone in if I have to.
No, you don't need to. You're good.
All right,
here we go.
.com is where you can find complete coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to thehoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming to you here from BB's and just right on cue. Holy moly. Look at this. What we got here?
This is the Empire State.
Oh,
Did you hear what that's called? The
I did
Empire
hear that.
State.
It's a hash brown patty with ketchup, 2 quarter-pound patties of sausage, egg and cheese on it. And we're also switching over to these fried potatoes instead of hash browns.
The Empire State Building is going down. Thank you, brother. Unfortunately, I wish you hadn't brought to me right in this. I
I don't know if that's a phrase we
right
should
now.
say on the radio, should we? The Empire State is going down. The Empire State Building is going down.
Man. Oh my God, these are good too, these fried things.
I
it
guess
looks
it doesn't matter.
and sounds delicious.
Well, as I was saying, boy, it's hard to, I'm going to be honest with you, it is really difficult to try to conduct an interview with that in your hand because I'm hungry. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to set it down, though, just for a little bit. Alec Lasley from Hoosier.com joining us. And like I said, just mentioned a minute ago, make sure you go to the Hoosier.com and get signed up for 1 week. They got a special 50% off where you can have all the premium coverage that you can stand. Alec, how's it going, my friend?
Good. How are you guys doing? Looks like you're obviously doing pretty well, eating right.
Well, you know, it's our weekly stop here at BB's, and it's all good. Alec Lasley joining us from Hoosier.com. Last night, Indiana, with its last exhibition game against St. Francis, and I will say that you can't take much from it because, man, they were small. Brayton Bailey at 6'1" was tasked with guarding Race Thompson all night and did a hell of a job. What did Race end up with? 4, 5 points?
I think it was 6 points.
He was they I don't know why, but they seem to focus on Race Thompson. It's like Race Thompson is not beating us. Well, that wasn't their problem. But what I am more impressed to continue to see is the play of Jalen Hood-Schifino, not because I'm surprised, but because that's what I expected. But it usually just doesn't manifest itself that quickly, that smoothly. It has. He is showing everything already. He is showing how well he handles the ball, how well he sees the floor, how well he facilitates, that he can get to the basket, and that he can shoot the ball himself. So that is what one of the things Indiana has just simply been missing.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing is that I don't think anyone expected it to be right away. And he's gone out and showed that he's probably going to be doing that pretty much every single game. And the biggest thing there with Indiana is they needed that in the backcourt. That's what they were missing last year. And to pair him with Xavier Johnson, who's going to obviously find his groove and his rhythm here as we get the season started. But I think
Stella got her groove back. Why not Race?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing though with Jalen Hood-Schifino and Malik Renew is those are two guys that have shown now that they're going to be consistent contributors every single game. And like you said, you can't take a lot away from these two exhibitions.
Not only consistent contributors, but leaders. I mean, these guys have been up there at the top statistical leaders in both games, which I know Trace didn't play the first game.
Yeah, and again, going up against Carolina, going up against Kansas, going up against Arizona, right there, they're going to go through their freshman struggles. But consistently, they're going to find ways to always be probably 2 out of the top 4 or 5 players on this roster at any given moment. And that's, if you look at that as 2 freshmen, that's exactly what you need, and that's exactly what this team needed with them coming in. And you know, we've talked about it numerous times, but just the fact of how college ready they were. Both physically and mentally, I think has shown in these 2 exhibitions. If you don't take anything else away, I think you just see how ready they are to be contributors. And then that's the biggest takeaway that I think that I have. We knew pretty much what everyone else realistically was going to be, right? We only saw Tamar Bates last night. He didn't play in the first game, and obviously he had some good moments last night as well. Jordan Geronimo's played pretty well throughout the first two exhibitions, but I think that was the biggest takeaway is actually seeing Malik Renew and Jalen Hood-Schifino come in from day one, and we heard it all summer. You know, we weren't really able to see him up until Saturday, and we saw them Saturday, and for them to follow it up with another really, really good all-around performance from both of them, I think is a really, really good telling sign for what you can expect from them each and every night going forward into the regular season here. So, you know, if you don't take away anything else, take away these two freshmen. I think it's difficult to find another pair of freshmen around the country that come in this year that both physically and mentally prepared for the college game. And, you know, some people want to talk about, you know, the Kentuckys and the Dukes, right, in their freshmen. Physically, maybe, yes, but I think, you know, you see it all the time with Kentucky players. They are so used to, and it's not a knock against them, right, but they're so used to playing one-on-one style of basketball. Same a lot with Duke players, but I think they do adjust a little bit better. But these guys are teammates through and through, and they're ready to contribute in any way possible. And that's, as talented freshmen, you can't ask for anything more than what they've shown so far.
I agree. I think that there's no better freshman front and backcourt combo than those two in America, without question, Dustin.
Well, one of the things I was going to say is, and I know we can't take too much away from these first two games, but the thing I think you are optimistic about if you're an Indiana fan after these first two exhibition games is the first night you saw Race Thompson go 3 for 4, CJ Gunn go 2 for 3. Those two guys didn't shoot the ball particularly well last night, but you have Miller Kopp and you have Jalen Hood-Schifino go combined 5 for 5 from behind the 3-point line. So I don't know where the 3-point shooting stands as for a team, but the nice thing is you have it seems like Indiana has multiple guys now on the roster who can step in and hit big shots. That's not to say that these guys are going to be a key part of the rotation every single night. Particularly, Jim already talked about maybe CJ Gunn's a guy who plays maybe 6 to 8 minutes per game or something along those lines. But the fact that you have those guys on the
that's not going to happen when we get to
okay.
I'll tell you, I'm going to give you my list once we get there later.
Okay. But anyway, somebody who can step in at any point. Indiana just has more options, at least right now, through the first two games that can hit big shots. And I think that's something they've lacked for, gosh, it seems like a decade.
Not just big shots, Dustin, but guys they can put in that is not this big drop off. Last year, Alec,
right.
when and I don't know if I don't see this massive 5-man substitution thing happening once we get to big time play. Once you are playing North Carolina, Arizona in conference play, that's not going to happen. I don't think, because I don't think you can afford to put a second group in its entirety up against a team. Situational. It depends on what's happening out there. You can't put that up against another team's starters, but they have the ability now to bring any of those guys in at a time and mix them in. I think that they can all mix in at any time and play. And there are so many different combinations that Mike is going to have this year that he simply did not have last year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think everyone can kind of look at the bench right now and pick out the top four, regardless of what Logan Duncombe showed in the first exhibition, right? I mean, you look at it and it's in some sort of order, you know, Tamar Bates, Jordan Geronimo, Trey Galloway, and Malik Renew. I think that's a pretty confident in that kind of answer of knowing who those first four are pretty much going to be off the bench. And then you get into that kind of fifth guy, right? Because, you know, Mike Woodson is he can say he's going to play 9 guys. He can say he's going to play 8 guys. There are going to be 10 guys who see the floor in every game, I would expect this season. And so I think you're going to see a lot of mixtures of that kind of, you know, 9th and 10th and even potentially 11th guy, depending on foul trouble and everything, right? But, you know, when you look at the back end of that rotation, I think that's the biggest question that comes from, you know, these two exhibitions, and what's going to come from the first, you know, week and a half of play is really kind of rounding out that back half of the rotation, because those first 4 guys off the bench, you know, are probably one of the most talented groups of 4 players coming off of the bench, especially in the Big Ten. And so now you just need to, round out whether that's an extra 5, whether that's CJ Gunn as a shooter, whether that's Caleb Banks as kind of a versatile defender, whatever that may be. I think you're going to see that change from time to time and game to game. But I think you now have the confidence that you go into every single game knowing you have 4 studs coming off the bench and you have 4 guys who you have a lot of confidence in and you have a lot of versatility in, right? That's the biggest thing that Indiana's not had over the last decade is different guys off of the bench that you can plug into different roles. You have a scorer, right, in Tamar Bates. You have an overall kind of hybrid wing in Trey Galloway, and you have a couple versatile and much different skill set forwards in Malik Renew and Jordan Geronimo. And I don't necessarily see a weakness from that bench at this point. Now, the biggest question is what happens if, Xavier Johnson or Jalen Hood-Schifino get in foul trouble or they're having a really off game or one of those two gets hurt. You're going to have to rely a lot more on Trey Galloway as that backup ball handler because you just don't have that third since you're playing both of those guys as starters. But at the end of the day, I think you still have enough confidence in Trey Galloway to go out there and play spot minutes as a true ball handler.
I agree, and I think he's not going to hurt you when he's in that position. He's just not going to give you what even Xavier gives you with his ability to get to the basket, his ability to facilitate, and especially Jalen Hood-Schifino's ability. He's a triple threat where he can shoot the 3, get to the basket, or facilitate. You're going to lose a little bit there, but Trey seems to play within himself. He does not try to get outside. He does not force things. So that's why I agree that he would be fine in that situation. I wonder, in these first 2 games, we've looked at Xavier's numbers, and is he competing with Jalen Hood-Schifino too much? I really wonder that because he's the senior. You've got this freshman. Xavier, he obviously wants to go on to the league next year. And it was expected to be the featured guard basically for this team. And that's really no longer the case. And it is quickly becoming the opposite case as Jalen Hood-Schifino continues to put up solid numbers and solid play. They were just going to have to, and last night Mike said he thinks X is playing too fast. I don't know, John, if you have that clip or not. If you did,
no,
we could play. Okay, well, we'll get to that later. But he's the only. Everybody else was. The team as a whole shot 65% last night, and if you took X out of that, they're over 75%, which is just crazy stupid. Field goal percentage. Now I will say that I counted because I went back and counted in the first half. 13 of their 25 shots were dunks or layups. So that certainly helps with that. And again, you have to look at, they were playing a team that it was like playing the Mighty Mites. You got Brayton Bailey at 6'1" guarding Race Thompson. So the huge size advantage. I don't know how much we can take off, but just watching them, watching the footwork of Malik Reneau, watching his shots around the basket, that nice little soft 4-foot left-handed shot that he put in, his ability to make the moves to get to the basket, his footwork is amazing. They have to get better. And you said that you expect to see 10 guys. I think it's going to hover closer to 9. The 10th and 11th guy, they may be in there for a minute or two for some reprieve, but I think it's going to be closer to 9 guys once we get into North Carolina and Arizona and then conference play.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's the. I just think you have your 4 guys off the bench, and that's 9 right there. So it's just about solidifying that kind of 10th or 11th player because, again, you're going to have guys who miss games this year. You're going to have guys who get in foul trouble, and you're going to need the back half of that to step up. So it's all about what Mike Woodson's basically said and reiterated last night again is when you have the minutes, just play your role and show me that, you can take advantage of those minutes. And that doesn't have to be scoring. That doesn't have to be rebounding. That just has to be playing your specific role. And so it's going to be those spot minutes of Logan Duncombe and probably CJ Gunn that I expect this year of those 2 guys kind of competing for that 10th spot. And one game they may need a little bit more versatility on the wing and go with CJ Gunn for a little bit more. One time they're probably going to need some more size and a little bit more depth up front, and they're going to go with Logan Duncombe. At the end of the day, I don't think the 10th guy is going to make or break anything for this team. So you have a good core of 9 guys. But going back to the point guards, right? I mean, Xavier Johnson was phenomenal at the end of last year. He doesn't need to do exactly what he did at the end of last year because of what this team still has around him.
Which is basically what Mike Woodson told him last night.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say is he just needs to be the solid point guard and not try to be the flashy point guard, which we've seen time and time again. And that's what makes him so good, though, is because you can have so many of those high highs, but you just need to eliminate some of those low lows that he's brought and just be a little bit more flatlined, which at the end of the day, I don't think is going to happen because that's not his game. He just needs to realize that he doesn't need to put everything on his back, which he did towards the back half of that deep end of the season run for Indiana.
Well, last night there was a period where there were 3 consecutive possessions. The first started with what should have been a lob to Trace Jackson Davis, and he did not get it up high enough, and they lost the ball, and Trace was like, get that up, man. But then the next 2 trips down the floor, there were different plays, but he facilitated very nicely with assists on both in the next 2 scoring plays. Should have had back-to-back assists, but that's what we're talking about. That is what you want and need to see from Xavier Johnson. That facilitating, making things hard on people because he's so quick and finding the guys with the passes. That is what makes it difficult on defenses, not him trying to force shots, get to the rim. 2 for 11 the first night. I don't know, what was he last night? 3 for
8.
3 for 8. Not terrible. So it showed he was a little more restrained, and that's what I want to see. Restraint in his shot selection, more concerned with facilitating. Jalen Hood-Schifino is just he's got his vision is just much better. He sees the court, sees everybody, but yet he can get to the basket, and we saw he can shoot the 3. We got to take a break. Lots more to talk about. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com is with us here as we're coming to you live from BB's Market here in Bloomington. Of course, part of the WOW Club. Go to the Apple App Store, Google App Store, and sign up for the WOW Club. Start earning WOW rewards today, or just stop in and have some delicious food like this that's already made. I'm going to tear that up in a second. Or you saw the great steaks that are always back there. This is better than Odin. Everybody talks about, no, these better than your full-size bakery and everything. Back with more Alec Lasley and Dustin Schutte right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's
I'm having an internet problem. Oh, really? They got to get their Wi-Fi situated, ma'am. You didn't?
As he's shoving a
oh, shut up. They can still hear me. Well, I'm eating that. I'm just eating one of the damn sausages off. It's too damn big.
I know.
I had to shorten that thing down.
Hey, real quick, Jimmy, since you can't hear us, I have 3 clips, the original 3 that you wanted. What else am I missing? I know you said there was 1 or 2 other ones you wanted me to get or something. I think he turned his microphone off.
Yeah, he definitely did.
Of course he did. Oh, well. These shows are something else.
Yeah, Jim can barely sit still when he's at home and stay on one topic when he's at home. Now he's got food coming up to him, people coming up to him. This is his heaven.
Yeah, this is where he'll go when he dies. He'll just place his casket in BB's and he'll be resurrected.
Oh,
talking about IU basketball.
Let's sit back.
I'm just curious if he knows his microphone's doing what it's doing. That's my only concern.
Well, I think so, because I think he was like, "Oh no, I'm on mute." Or he's like, "I gotta put myself on
Are you
mute."
back, Jim?
Like
You sound very different.
Muffled.
I've lost audio.
Yeah, I don't know what you did, but you don't sound like you did. I didn't do anything. He has no idea what we're saying either.
We can hear you, but it's very muffled. Can you hear us?
He must not be able to hear us.
All right, I'm going to have to remove him. He's going to have to join again, and I'll just text him. All right. We got 13 seconds. Dustin, can you bring Alec back in if I deal with Jim stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Enjoying some of the great fare here at BB's Market on this Friday. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com with us. Of course, Dustin Schutte from outsider.com with us each and every day, our co-host. Indiana finished up exhibition basketball last night. We just talked about the Monday night against State at home, of course.
Hey, we lost your audio again, Jim.
Alex is shaking his head.
We're losing your audio again.
Alec, can you hear me?
All right.
We're losing your audio a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna continue this. He doesn't know what's going on. You all, if you don't mind, continue this. I'm gonna call him and tell him what to do.
Yeah, so last night's game, obviously another big win for Indiana. They get over the 100-point mark. To me, one of the things we keep talking about with Xavier Johnson, because he seems to be the guy that everybody thinks could be the catalyst to this team, right? Like as he goes, the team goes. That seems to be a common thought because of how he played at the end of last season. You talked about how they don't necessarily have to depend on him to put up 25, 30 points a game in order to win. They've got too much depth this season. My concern heading into the regular season, Alec, would be he hasn't really found his shot here in these first two exhibition games. Is he going to press a little too much early in the season to try to find it? Because I think he was 0 for 4 from behind the 3-point line last night, and I don't think he made a 3 in the first exhibition game against Marion. So that's one of the concerns I do have. I mean, obviously Indiana's played without him, shooting the basketball too well. But do you think there's a situation where maybe he tries to press too much to try to find that shot rather than just letting it come to him?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, again, one of the things that, probably one of the negatives that comes with Xavier Johnson. He just can't be that kind of, low level energy kind of guy. He always has to be in the action. He always has to try to force the issue. And that's when, you have the good and bad moments of him and you don't have that consistency. But at the same time, right, I mean, if he does try to force things, the first 6 games of that Indiana schedule are pretty easy. You have the Xavier game at Xavier. So that's the one game out of those first 6 that you really would probably need him for. So if he does force it, right, I think you'd rather try to have him do that in the first month of the season than doing that in, January or February, because if he goes 1 of 11, 1 of 10, 3 of 13, it's not going to hurt you. It's probably going to be, a little bit difficult to deal with from possession to possession, and trying to get into some sort of rhythm offensively. But, you'd rather look sloppy the first month and figure things out that way on the court, which is probably going to end up happening, than try to have him do it, like I said, in February when you should already know exactly what you're going to get each and every night. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I really don't. He's not going to be a guy, again, that you need to take 10 shots from. He's not also going to be a guy who's going to put up 20 a game, even 15 a game. as long as he's right around 10, 11 a game and, has that, when he was in his good moments, that 3-to-1 assist turnover ratio last year, that's what you need because you're going to have the fundamentals from Jalen Hood-Schifino alongside him, and he just needs to learn how to play with them. Throughout his entire career, even probably dating back to you take out the team takeover days on the AAU circuit, but dating back to high school, right, he's been the sole ball handler, and that's why he's been so good because he's so quick, he's so aggressive, he can get downhill and get into the paint, and not many other guards that he's been able to play with can do that. Now you have that alongside him. He's not a terrific shooter, but he has shown the ability to be able to hit the outside shot on a kick out. So as long as he just continues to work through these I wouldn't even call them struggles because, again, it's 2 exhibition games. He could come out and have 15 in the first game and go, 6-6 or anything like that, and everyone's going to forget about it because that's just who he is. So I really don't think it's a big deal whatsoever, but just let him get it all out in the first month and focus on moving into the big games that you need him for when you obviously hope that he has those struggles figured out.
Yeah, it's a flow thing. It's getting into the flow of the offense, which is pretty amazing if you look at Jalen Hood-Schifino, who's been able to do exactly that. He's been able to bring his game in and do it within the confines of what Woody is trying to do. There was a moment last night, I'm not trying to pick on X, but where he was coming up the floor and he flipped that little behind the back pass attempt over, I forget if it was to Race or whom it was to, but it was behind him and went out of bounds. There's no need for that. You're way out in the front court and you do a behind the back pass. That's the thinking that has to be eradicated. It's just the thought to do that. Why are you thinking to do that? This was in the early parts of the first half. Why you're thinking to do that, I don't know. But that's the mindset that has to be eradicated because that shows me it's not complete focus on what you're trying to do at hand. Now, there was another time when Jalen Hood-Schifino made his way to the basket and did a behind the back. That was a different sort of thing. That was his own move, but he looked completely under control doing it as well. But I think Xavier's just got to learn. I think Xavier just needs to learn how to weld his talents into what he has around him because he has a lot around him, and the sum is much greater than the individual parts. It is without those individual parts acting in concert, they're not. It won't work. But I think that will happen, and because Xavier wants to win like everybody else.
No, absolutely. Like I said, I really don't think it's a huge issue. And if you expect him to do, anything different than what he's done in the other 4 years that he's been on a college campus, right? You'd be kind of naive to think that. It's just about limiting the times that he has those inconsistencies. And that's what he did towards the end of last year, right? I mean, you also look at it, Trace Jackson-Davis has missed some time. Not to say that they didn't obviously have all of last year, but with this roster, he's missed some time of practice. He obviously missed the first exhibition game. Tamar Bates has missed some practices as well. Some other guys have been banged up throughout the preseason here. So, still trying to find the rhythm, still trying to find the flow. Like you said, that's everyone's going through that, right? At the end of the day, not that any of these two issues are big in an exhibition game, but Kansas was down 14 at the half to Pittsburgh State last night. Indiana's doing all of this while they're still
Louisville lost
exactly
Lenore Ryan and almost to Chaminade.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, these are very, very minimal issues that you're going to have to deal with, and Xavier Johnson is still going to be one of the best point guards in the Big Ten. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. As long as he has those high moments, then you can take the lower ones that come with him.
Yeah, the good thing is we're not talking about the things we're talking about is not what is going to be needed to make Indiana a decent team. It's what is going to take to make Indiana an elite team. And that's the difference from where we have been before, because that is where they are right now. They are on the precipice of having an elite team. And I will say that if they can get all of that ironed out, they're going to be an elite team. I truly believe that. I think they have the pieces and the parts to do that, and to be able to play with about anybody.
No, absolutely, and that's again the difference between this year and last year, and that's the difference between having those parts that you didn't have basically over the last decade and having them now with this roster. So again, these are 2 exhibition games. This, you're really not going to learn a lot in the first month of the season either for Indiana, outside of that game at Xavier. So it's just about making sure everyone gets into a little bit of a flow. And having those high moments when they need them, obviously, which we'll find out pretty soon here in the second month of the season when they have the 3 big games almost back to back with Carolina, Kansas, and Arizona.
Recruiting wise, it's been kind of quiet. I know that the coaches were out and about last week, but it's been a little bit quiet for Indiana but there will be visits coming up. I know that I've seen in the Hoosier.com there are some scheduled visits coming. Where is Indiana on the recruiting front at the moment?
Yeah, so the big one, Marquise Passmore, top 50 kind of wing hybrid guard in the 2024 class is visiting Indiana this weekend. He had to move up his date. He was supposed to be here Saturday through Monday for that first game, but the dead period starts on the 7th. So we had to just move that up. So he gets in kind of midday towards the end of the afternoon today, and we'll leave Sunday morning. That's the big one. Really, Indiana's done a really heavy lifting job, especially Kenya Hunter with this one. He's Combine Academy in North Carolina guard. So Kenya Hunter, using a lot of those East Coast ties, was down there actually for their first game earlier this week to see him. So you go visit a prospect 3 days before he comes for an official visit, shows you how interested Indiana is, and it shows you what they really want, and that's that physical athletic guard, and that's exactly what he is. So that's the key visit coming up. And then you move into next weekend, kind of one that came up over the last couple of weeks here, class of 2024, a big man for Overtime Elite, took a scholarship there. So you use an NIL and scholarship, and not taking an actual salary. So he still has college eligibility. Samto Cyril, 6'10", extremely athletic center. And that's what Indiana needs. That's what they're going after. He's a guy who's already old for his age. Just came to the U.S. earlier this year. He's a guy who probably, with talking to a few people, will move into that 2023 class. Not a situation that is firm at the moment, but definitely one. If you're looking at guys who Indiana's trying to get into the 2023 class, it's either Cyril or Derek Queen. And I think at this moment, you look a little bit more at Santo Cyril as a potential option than potentially Derek Queen. Just as things stand at November 4th right now. You have that big visit coming up with him next weekend. Only taking one other visit to Cincinnati, and still some confusion on what schools are going to get involved. There's been a lot of talk about potentially going the pro route, but again, talking to a few people, they expect him to go the college route, and at this moment they think class of 2023 is probably a little bit stronger of a lean than staying in 2024, just strictly due to his age.
You mentioned Cincinnati, who is joining the Big 12. Yesterday, we saw that Gonzaga in talks to join the Big 12. That would be the Big 12 is doing a good job of at least on the basketball side of keeping things up. Cincinnati's recruiting has been outstanding. And of course, if you bring a Gonzaga in, that's going to make it even stronger. So I mentioned that just for that reason. Cincinnati has done a hell of a job recruiting. Then now we're ready to hit the rubber hits the road on Monday, like we said earlier. The first game, Indiana's got their second game. Then they travel to Xavier, which early on I thought that was going to be a little tougher than I think it's going to be now after they got waxed by Vanderbilt. The first true test will come against North Carolina at home. And boy, will that be a test. But man, oh man, I think that's going to be a hell of a game. I cannot wait for the environment, I can tell you that, because Assembly Hall will be, well, last year at Purdue game, it was up there pretty high But the last time North Carolina was here, Roy Williams made a point to say, holy cow, they got waxed. But he talked about the crowd and he raved about the crowd. He's like, man, he's, oh my gosh, I wish we had a crowd like that at home all the time, except for, we have it for the Duke game. But he's like, wow, he was not only impressed, but it made a huge difference. And it does make a huge difference playing at home, playing in a place like Assembly Hall against a team like that. And they will need that. But this could be a coming out party for Indiana. If you're able, if they were able to knock off the defending, not national champion, but runner-up, who's ranked in the top 5, man, that just throws Indiana right into the party.
Yeah, and realistically, even if they lose that game, right, and go either 3-1 in the rest of those games, including Xavier, because at the end of the day, I do think Xavier is going to be a good team by the end of the year. But if you get 2 or 3 of those wins, especially against the Kansas and in Arizona, those are all phenomenal, regardless of what those other results end up being. So
Arizona if they can pull off the Arizona North Carolina games, which I think are the most likely, and of course Xavier, I don't expect them to win at Kansas, but maybe Kansas is not as strong as they were, so maybe this is not as far-fetched. If I don't want to sound fandish here, but that's a tough place to play. But just think about the possibility of Indiana going 4-0 over Xavier, North Carolina, Arizona, and who am I missing? Kansas.
I can.
You think that expectations are unreasonably high right now? If that were to happen, even if it was situational, because Kansas isn't as good right now at the beginning of the year, they get North Carolina at home. Situationally, maybe they catch some teams at the right time. But if they were going 4-0 over those teams, if you think expectations are high right now, just forget about it. Everyone would be booking their tickets to Houston or wherever the Final Four is this year.
Yeah, but again, even if obviously, yes, if they go 4-0, right, that's going to be phenomenal.
And I'm not saying that they would be justified expectations.
Yeah, and I think just expectations wise, even if you go 2-2, that's still good, right? This team is still going to have numerous opportunities for wins, right? And it's not even going to come down to who they beat, assuming they just take care of business with what they should do and the talent that they have on the team. But it's just about getting back to those matchups, right? And having those close games, having those big nationally televised games that I think is the bigger momentum swing in this program right now than winning that game. Obviously, you want to win the game, but you need to get back to the game first, just like landing the recruit. You need to get the kids on visits before you start landing them. That's what Indiana's doing now. And now you need to get back to playing in the games before you start winning them. I don't expect them to go 4-0. I don't expect them to win 3 of those games. But if they go 2-2 out of those games, right, at the end of the day, that's a really good non-conference slate with what else you have in there.
Yep, we got to wrap it up. But seeing guys like Jalen Hood-Schifino and Malik Renault play well in those games, that is what recruits also see. They're like, oh, wow, I could be at Fog Allen playing against Kansas next year. I could be wherever, yada, yada. But what's up next for you, Alec?
Yeah, so obviously we're switching gears to the regular season, so we'll have some couple previews with that, wrapping up kind of takeaways from the exhibition, and then focusing on the 2 big visits coming up and starting to look into obviously what Indiana has to do to land those guys as well.
I know there's a ton of content on the Hoosier.com right now, just from yesterday, whether it was preview game from the game and about Brayton Bailey, all kinds of stuff on there. So go to the Hoosier.com, and don't forget 50% off right now for the entire year. That's only like $4 a month. I know you guys can afford that. And it's how you help these guys support keeping that thing going. It's hard to cover those games. Thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com joining us, brought to you by Barbara Pop Real Estate Services down in the Louisville, Southern Indiana area. If you're looking for a home in the Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott County areas, Louisville, reach out to Barbara Pop Real Estate Services. They've served that community for 3 decades. Barbara at barbarapop.com, or my man Matt Lincoln. Matt at barberpop.com. We're back at BB's Market right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore.
Morning, Zach.
Hey, how we doing?
Oh, excuse me. We're doing good. Well, how many? We're officially in double duty mode now, right? Football and basketball coverage for 4 weeks?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. The overlap is fully upon us.
The most
And Zach
wonderful time of the year.
And Zach has World Cup.
Yeah.
When does that start?
The end of this month.
Oh, at the end of the month.
Yeah, I don't know how much I'm going to watch, to be honest.
I think the 20th is the first day it starts. Is that right, John? Do you know?
Would you ask me?
The World Cup, does that start November 20th? I just saw an advertisement for it last night.
Yeah, I think the U.S. plays on the 20th, the 24th, and the 29th or something, or 25th. Right. It's the day after. I know they play the day after Thanksgiving against England. That's the big one.
Oh, that's right. There's an NFL game, there's college football, and there's soccer on Black Friday.
And the soccer, I think all of the U.S.'s matches are at 10 p.m. too, if I'm not mistaken.
Put his on me.
I could be wrong about that, but I think they're really late.
It's very paper hit.
I mean,
too bad.
Watch it. It seems like it does. Maybe it's just because of the time of year, and it probably is because of the time of year. It seems like nobody really gives a shit, even though the U.S. is in it.
That's correct. It would be.
I mean, I do think genuinely.
I went down and saw him last. I went down and saw him last year down at Montverde.
Some moral objection. I mean,
I heard the whole Qatar, all of
I'm not
being held there, and
I'm really not going to be watching very much of it, and that's why. I'm not going to moralize about it. I'm not going to any of that. But I'm also just I'm not going to judge anybody who watches it. All I can do is not give it my eyeballs, and I'm not going to. And I don't.
Thank you so much.
Unlike a regular World Cup, I don't know anything.
Sorry, Zach. We're coming back.
Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this beautiful Friday from BB's Market here in Bloomington. Of course, part of the WOW Club. Make sure you go to your Apple app, Google App Store, join the WOW Club today, start earning WOW rewards. They are a proud sponsor of IU Athletics, but more importantly, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star joins us now. Zachary, how are you, brother?
I'm good, Jim. How about you?
Can't complain. Dustin Schutte here with us as well from Outsider.com. We talked a lot of basketball with Alec Lasley in the last segment. Last night, Indiana finished up their exhibition season against St. Francis, which that was a very, very outmatched team, obviously. But they sure gave it the old college try. The thing that stood out to me most was watching Brayton Bailey just give it everything he had guarding Race Thompson down in the post. Race only ended up with 6 points, so he can hang his hat on that. But watching Malik Renault and Jalen Hood-Schifino and how just mature their games are. And I think that's the best word for me to use for their games are just mature. Jalen doesn't seem to force anything. He takes the three-pointers when they're available. He can get to the basket. His court vision is really stellar. And that just continues to improve. Malik, is Malik. He's just got such touch around the basket and footwork for a freshman. So Indiana's in great shape there. We'll see going forward how that plays out. Xavier, it looks like he's still trying to get his game into with everybody else, which I think will come, but it's just not there at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think you pick up bits and pieces out of exhibition games, both because of the competitive level, the other team is kind of coming from, and also because you're never sure, if how much of what you're seeing is a hard and fast plan, how much is experimenting, how much is, a coach tinkering with different things. I mean, I thought it was interesting last night when Mike Woodson said, his message to Xavier Johnson is don't feel like you have to do everything this year like you did last year, because we've got other guys that can get downhill, that can create, that can pass, that can shoot, can score. On the other hand, like Xavier Johnson has games like this. Like that's part of his profile. And you have to be comfortable with that, because the flip side is you get the games where he has 18 and 10 assists, and he looks like, Pete Chris Paul for periods of the game. So, I think what you've seen more than anything else from Indiana is we thought they would be deeper. There's nothing we've seen. We thought that they would be deeper. We thought they would be more versatile. Nothing we've seen through these two exhibitions, at least, has dissuaded me from that idea. There's still ways guys got to grow. I will argue till I'm blue in the face, Indiana's still got to shoot more threes. They've taken 37 across 2 games. That's not enough. But at the same time, you can probably look at it and say, well, probably part of the reason we're shooting so few threes is because of how easy the shots are coming at the rim. And so that's another area where you just don't want to pass too much judgment too quickly in these games. I think you can be excited about some of the individual performances. I think you're right about the freshmen. I think it was good to see Trace Jackson Davis just go out there and get 19 and 9 last night, like nothing was wrong. Obviously, he had the hand injury. Mostly, it just sort of feels like Indiana is in a good place and is probably ready for the season to start.
Yeah, I disagree, and Dustin, you can jump in after this. I disagree on the 3-point shooting because I don't trust them enough. And I like Jalen Hood-Schifino. He took 3? I can't remember. I'm going off memory. I don't have the stats in front of me, but he was 2 of 3. It was very efficient. They seem to be more efficient right now, but I think that is partly because of the interior play, because of you have a Malik Renew, you have Race Thompson, and you have Trace Jackson Davis, who that's as formidable of a front court threesome as there is in the country, I'm going to say. And that's just going to be problematic for teams. And if you can shoot 65% from the field like Indiana did last night, I'll take that all day long. Now I know that they were doing that against St. Francis, who was the Mighty Mites. But if you can have a very, very high 2-point percentage, I'd rather see them continue to do that as long as they're not getting beaten by a team who's running them off the board from behind the 3-point line.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the balance is you're just not going to get such quality looks at 2. When you start playing teams that have a similar competitive level, teams that have a similar skill level, obviously teams that have a similar size level, you're going to get that at the high major level. You're going to get that in the Big Ten. It's the chicken and the egg a little bit. I mean, Indiana had 64 bench points last night, or not bench points, paint points last night. They were getting those shots. So, yeah, when you're getting lots of looks around the rim, 12 of 12 on dunks, 17 of 26 on layups, 49 scores on 71 possessions. When you're getting those looks, yes, take them. My argument is basically just that they're not going to get those looks as often when they're playing better teams. And even if you have some of this depth, you've got Race Thompson, Trace Jackson Davis, Malik Renew, Jordan Geronimo. Hey, we've even seen Logan Duncan play well. Even if you've got that depth, that's not, going to change the fact that against better teams, you're not going to get to have your way as much inside. And I don't think Indiana's going to shoot the lights out from behind the three-point line this season. But if a team doesn't even have to respect the idea that you might shoot them, much less make them, then the three-point line is just not working for you at all. Indiana averaged 17.7 threes per game last year. That was in the 310s nationally. And that was after we heard Mike Woodson for the best part of a month say, I'm going to tell them to keep shooting. I'm going to make sure they keep shooting, even if they may miss a few, even if we have a cold night. I'm going to make sure that they keep shooting, because basically that same idea that, like, if we don't shoot them, then nobody has any reason to respect them. And if you go back to some of Indiana's, early season games, there are definitely some low three-point attempt games in there, but they shot 22 against Nebraska. They shot 27 at Syracuse. They shot 24 against Eastern Michigan and 23 against Northern Illinois. By the time you get to Big Ten play, I mean, like they didn't shoot more than 21 threes in a game in the calendar. I'm looking at it now. If I'm looking at this right, they didn't shoot more than 21 threes in a game in the calendar year 2022. Excuse me. Sorry, they did once against Minnesota at home. They shot 9 of 24 on January 9th. After that, they didn't shoot more than 21 in a game all season. The rest of the season, that's not enough. And if the reason Indiana's didn't shoot a ton of threes in these two exhibitions, again, I think they had 18, maybe 19 against Marion. They shot 19 last night. I think it was 19 against Marion, now that I'm thinking about it. So 38 total. If the reason they didn't shoot a ton of threes is just because they were getting such good looks around the rim, that's fine. And I don't think Indiana needs to go out there chucking, to be really clear. I don't think they need to take threes just to take threes. But when the ball moves and the offense functions and the shot you get is an open three, even if you're not a great three-point shooter, even if you haven't been shooting great that night, that's the shot. That shot needs to go up, because you've got good rebounders that can pull in offensive rebounds. Off a three-pointer, statistically, an offensive rebound is almost a 50-50 proposition, because you don't know where the carom's going to go if the ball doesn't go in. You got good rebounders. You got better size this year. I mean, Jalen Hood-Schifino, a healthy Trey Galloway, a healthy Tamar Bates, the size Indiana puts on the floor with those guys. And you've just got to be in a place where teams can respect it. You have to be in a place where teams can respect it.
And I mean, one of the things I wanted to bring up was, through these first two games and all off season, it seemed like to me there was a comfort level, there was a confidence level with this team. It's like you said, Mike Woodson wants to push these guys to keep shooting. I mean, he's not going to red light a lot of players if he thinks you're capable of hitting those shots. I mean, I just think this team has approached these games with a lot of confidence. I think we've seen it through the first two exhibition games. I know there's not a lot to go off of because of the level of competition, but to be as locked in as they have been defensely, I mean, it just looks to me like this is a team that is on a mission. They're locked in, and they are, they're ready for the upcoming season.
Miller Kopp is ready for the upcoming season. He's ready. He's picking up some meat at BB's. No, I mean, I said through Hoosier Hysteria that I thought there was a quiet confidence about this team. And listen, everybody feels good in September and October. And after a while, you've only played each other. And so, all you can see is either the best of everybody or the worst of everybody. But I give these guys some credit. We talked for 6 years about Indiana hadn't been to the NCAA tournament. Indiana's underperformed expectations. Indiana hasn't won these games. Indiana hasn't beaten Purdue, blah, 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 blah. They've done some of those things. Now, Trace Jackson Davis, everybody around that program is quick to say, you only won 21 games last year. We're still the same team that went 9-11 in the Big Ten. Like Trace Jackson Davis has said that to my face. We're still the same team that went 9-11 in the Big Ten. We're not taking anything for granted. But I do think that there is I think that a lot of these guys look around and say, I know what good basketball looks like, and we've got it. We're an NCAA tournament team that won a game in the tournament last year. We're better than we were a year ago. Here are the reasons why, and you're going to see it soon. And I just think that, there's almost kind of when they only did that 6-minute scrimmage at Hoosier Hysteria, and it was very much a go through the motions thing, because it was the last thing they were going to do basketball-wise at the end of a really long day. They had the pro day and I think some workouts and then Hoosier Hysteria, there was a very sort of like, hey, you're only going to get 6 minutes today, but don't worry. You'll see it when, we're good. You'll see it when you need to see it.
Zach, I know that we've got football coming up this weekend, taking on Penn State tomorrow afternoon. A lot of people have forgotten about that, but the season is still continuing. 4 games left. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Don't know who Penn State's quarterback's going to be. So that's going to be kind of interesting. I do not expect it to be Jack Tuttle. Would you be surprised if it was Jack Tuttle?
I probably would, and not to be really clear. I don't think Indiana should just bin off Jack Tuttle because he said he's going to transfer. I don't think Indiana should be vindictive, and I don't think they will be. I just think that if you are going to make a quarterback change at this time in the year, unless Jack Tuttle has elevated his play in practice, and if he has, fair enough. If Jack Tuttle has just found a rhythm that you didn't see before, then play him. If you think he's the best guy, but. The most compelling argument for me for making a change at quarterback is basically trying something different. I know that's simplistic, but I think it makes sense. Jack Tuttle's not really different. Jack Tuttle's not a change of pace. He's a little bit more athletic possibly than Connor Bazelak. Probably doesn't have quite as strong of an arm, maybe a little bit faster in the open field. But neither of those guys is a long-term plan. Tuttle obviously isn't because he's planning to leave. If you're going to do something as dramatic as bench the guy who's been your starter all year, the guy that you picked after a off-season long competition, the guy that you stood behind through thick and thin. If you're going to bench that guy, it needs to be with an eye on the future to some extent. It needs to be with an eye on, just sort of like what comes next and trying something new to move forward. And so obviously I'm thinking about Dexter Williams primarily. It's not because Jack Tuttle is it's not sort of vindictive saying, no, Jack Tuttle's leaving, so don't give him a chance. It's more saying Dexter Williams is something different. He's definitely more mobile. I think he's possibly got the strongest arm of the 3. He's obviously also a lot more raw for all the attendant reasons. But Dexter Williams is potentially your future, and if you feel like the change needs to be made, then I think you need to be thinking about that future.
I agree. Zach, we'll see you on Saturday, and then Indiana opens up the regular basketball season on Monday.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, as always.
Thank you, Zach Osterman, Indy Star. Make sure you give him a follow and be a subscriber. Keep local papers alive. I am Zachary. We'll see you, brother. Thank you. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're coming to you from BB's Market. Maybe we'll get lured with Miller Kopp here in a minute, who is here buying meats and perusing in the store. I told you, man, this is the place to be. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is
I still love how he said twice today. Where's it at? I know you guys can afford that. Great sales pitch. That's what I want people telling me.
Let's see.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to plug this back in.
What are the odds he's late getting back to this segment? I think they're pretty high.
Yeah.
I might be forwarding you this thing on Instagram. So I told you I was doing this man on the street thing with one of the guys I work with. He just posted it on Instagram. Yeah. It's pretty funny. I'll forward it to you here in a little bit.
There we go. Oh boy, oh boy.
Honestly, it's cool if he gets them, but
that'll probably be all him.
Yeah, and I also feel I know Mitchell. Another thing too, Mitchell's on the side, not the side of the road. He's in his dad's neighborhood fixing his car. Some sort of axle broke off of his car.
Jeez, that dude has the worst luck.
Yeah, I told him if he wants to give people a laugh, you're welcome to join, but don't feel obligated.
Right.
But who knows? Usually these spontaneous interviews, so I don't know how well they normally go, but let's find out. He's walking back over here. Hello there.
Hello there.
Mitchell is having car problems, so he may or may not be joining us.
Miller's got his dog in the car. He couldn't
let's interview
stay.
the dog.
I think it's more about him and his brand. If I had to guess.
What do you mean? Him being in a meat shop, or the dog, or what do you mean?
No, not doing a free interview.
Oh. Okay, here we go.
Advanced Tea Time bookings. You just cover your card fees. Now, there is a limited number of memberships available, so go to eaglepoint.com right now and get yours today.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Friday, as we usually are, from BB's Market here in Bloomington, located just south of downtown area in Bloomington, north of Bloomington South High School. We're brought to you, of course, this segment by Courtroom Sports Grill down in Bedford. Great place to catch a game, meet friends. Here at BB's Market, of course, Miller Kopp just left, came in, bought him a nice, fat, juicy ribeye.
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't, unfortunately, it was in a break, and so he couldn't stay. His dog was in the car. He got to take him to a vet. But I said, "What'd you get?" He goes, "Oh, steak." I said, "What kind?" "Ribeye." Came in and got him a ribeye, and I said, "Man, they changed me from a filet guy to a ribeye here." So, I'm telling you, this is where the people come. It's where the players come. It's where you need to be hanging out. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com alongside, as always. We've got football this weekend, man. We've been talking a lot about basketball, but we've got some football. And as the season winds down, there's only 4 games left.
Yep.
For a lot of people, a lot of teams, there are a lot of things yet to be determined. Some are fighting for bowl eligibility. Some are fighting for spots at the top. The college football playoff poll out, and I'm still Clemson. That's BS. Just putting an ACC team in there is all that was. That was political crap. Is all that is putting an ACC team in. Now I know that Michigan and Ohio State, they're going to play each other. That's going to take care of itself. Tennessee and Georgia are going to play each other. But see, Alabama got beat by Tennessee, but yet they were ahead of undefeated TCU.
Right.
Explain that one to me.
Well, I can explain it to you. They want to give Alabama as much of a chance to reach the college football playoff as humanly possible.
Exactly.
Possibly. And that's also why LSU, with 2 losses, is sitting at number 10.
That's Lee. That's our man Lee. He went and got it. Lee got him a steak too, it looks like.
Ooh, all right. Everybody's loading up on steak. This is a ribeye weekend, baby.
Oh, I may have to do that myself. It's going to be a nice weekend. Why not? But go play. I'm sorry. Our meat sucks has interrupted you.
Look, food is way more important than anything I'm babbling about. That's for damn sure. But LSU at 2 losses at number 10, that gives Alabama a chance to get another signature win on their resume, even though LSU, good football team, they should not be top 10.
See, that's another thing. How in the freaking world is LSU even close?
I agree. They lost to Florida State. I understand their only other loss is Tennessee. They played some good football lately.
But they've got 2 losses. It's just irregular. It's like this is such an SEC bias, man. It's just ridiculous.
The thing that's crazy is I think 5 SEC teams are in the top 11. So basically half of the top 11 is the SEC. And
so you're almost guaranteeing 2 SEC teams again, virtually.
Right at this point, yeah. And then you've got the biggest gripe I had was LSU at number 10, Penn State at number 15. Both have 2 losses. Penn State's 2 losses are to number 5 Michigan and to number 2 Ohio State. LSU's losses are to an unranked Florida State and to number 1 Tennessee. So they both have about the same quality of wins. So I'm not saying maybe you can put LSU ahead of Penn State, but it's not 5 spots. That's the biggest issue I have.
No, you can't. Has LSU played Auburn yet? Do they play Auburn?
They do play Auburn, but I think they already have. I'd have to let me check really quick. I'm pretty sure that they did because Auburn is really, really bad. So
I know that. That's why I was curious as to what that score was and that result, because I know that Penn State went down to Auburn and just wiped the field with them.
Yes.
So
LSU had trouble with Auburn, 21-17.
Okay.
At Auburn.
So now you've got a third thing to throw in there.
Yep.
It's ridiculous. And Penn State can't do anything now to rise. They've already played the 2 biggest games they're going to play. There are no other ranked teams in the Big Ten besides Illinois who they won't play this season. So,
I was going to say they're hindered because Maryland at 6-2 is unranked, and Texas at 5-3, because they lost to Alabama, is in the top 25. See, when you've been doing this as long as I have, you can see the way in which this playoff committee puts teams in specific spots to make Alabama look better when there's no reason Texas should be in the top 25. They have 3 losses. They got beat by Oklahoma State. They got beat by Alabama. And I think their biggest wins this season have been like Iowa State, Oklahoma, which is not a good football team, West Virginia, UTSA, UL Monroe. Like, they're not beating good teams. So, it just makes no sense. But you got to prop up Alabama because, let's face it, they're the Duke, right? People are going to watch if Alabama's in there because they want to see Alabama lose. It's just like Duke in the NCAA tournament. Nobody likes Duke. So people are going to tune into the Duke game when the NCAA tournament rolls around because they want to see Duke lose.
I'm sorry. I just happened to see this comment from Van the Pastor Man. Said it bugs him. It bugs his dad that he can't have steak anymore because he lost a lot of his teeth. That's just I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you, but it just struck me as kind of funny. The volleyball prop Tom Hanks called Wilson in the movie Castaway sold at an auction for $83,000.
Wow.
But you know what? But there are people who that's lunch money too.
Right. That's chump change.
It is. Chump change is right. So, John, do you have those clips yet?
Yeah, I have the original ones that you asked me for, yes.
Okay, and then I want to make sure that let's see, I guess we should do that now, should we, in case Mitchell joins us.
Yeah.
Last night, well, you know what? Let's just finish up with football. We'll get that in the last segment. How's that? So,
Perfect.
All right, this weekend in the Big Ten, what are we looking at as far as your top matchups?
Well, I think the most interesting is probably Purdue or Iowa at Purdue because Purdue's still right now in the Big Ten West race. It's supposed to be.
I mean, Purdue has to win this game to stay in the Big Ten race, not for their season, but to stay in the Big Ten West race with Illinois. Does Purdue still just have the one loss?
Oh no, they've got 2 conference losses. They lost to Penn State in the opener, and then they lost to Wisconsin 2 weeks ago, and then they lost that non-conference game to Syracuse. So they got 2 losses.
Who are Illinois' crossover games besides Indiana?
Indiana, Michigan, and Michigan State. Illinois plays Michigan State this weekend, so they should get to a 2-0 in crossover games.
Well, they haven't played Michigan yet then.
No, they play Michigan State, then they host Purdue, which could be a big game next week if Purdue beats Iowa. But that game's supposed to be Iowa-Purdue, supposed to be maybe some rain, 30-mile-an-hour winds. Purdue plays really bad in poor weather, or plays really poorly in bad weather, I should say.
When does Illinois play Michigan?
Second to last weekend of the season, November 19th. That could be a huge game.
Oh, are you kidding me? That could decide Illinois' fate on going to the big. If Purdue happens to win this weekend, now did Purdue and Illinois play yet?
They play They play not this week, but next week.
See, everything's yet to be decided.
Exactly.
There's your tiebreaker.
But if Illinois wins this week and beats Purdue next week, that game against Michigan, that could have some college football playoff implications. Could you imagine Indiana beat a college football playoff contender?
That would just no, they should have beat one last year. Well, they wouldn't have been one. Cincinnati wouldn't have been one. They should have beaten Cincinnati last year. Right, I'm just so convinced of that. But the 11 in Indiana. I'm on the 11 in Indiana campaign. I'm going to start tweeting that out. I want to see Illinois go 11 in Indiana. All right. Outside of that, what are the big games that you're looking at this weekend?
Well, outside the Big Ten, I mean, in the Big Ten, there really isn't a lot. Minnesota, Nebraska could be edgy. I think Maryland, Wisconsin is a sneaky good matchup. But outside of that,
two average teams.
I think Maryland's pretty good, but we'll see what happens. Wisconsin had 2 weeks off, but then obviously top 25, Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU. Those will be good games. You got Texas playing Kansas State. I think Kansas State is really good. I don't know how they lost 2 games. I don't know how they lost to Tulane. Here's an interesting one, Jim, that I think we'll find out something about Clemson. 8-0 Clemson, 5-3 Notre Dame. Clemson has to go on the road to play the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame can play spoiler here.
I desperately want to see Notre Dame win that game because I am sick and tired of teams like Clemson and Alabama being glad-handed, just giving stuff. So I hope they go up there and get their asses beat, to be honest with you. But then I don't want to see Notre Dame turn around and get put into the top 4. That wouldn't surprise me.
Well, that ain't happening. Notre Dame's not. They're not in the playoff picture. It's
Notre Dame. You forget.
That's true.
It's all about the name.
And then the only other top 25 intriguing matchup this week would be Wake Forest, NC State, both 6-2 in the ACC.
Really? No Big 12 games?
Kansas State and Texas, and then I guess you could look at Texas Tech, TCU. Texas Tech is 4-4.
Well, yeah, TCU needs to stay undefeated.
They do, and they might be out for blood in this game, getting the number 7 ranking behind, especially since they're behind Alabama. They might try to prove a point. They're at home. Texas Tech 4-4. They've been kind of a roller coaster ride. They've played well against most of their competition. This is going to be a really interesting game. They did also Texas Tech got blown out last week by an average Baylor team. So this is like, you know what's weird is every week or every year, I should say, in college football, it seems like when there's a list of games that aren't really that intriguing. I mean, I know we got a couple really good games, but that's when the chaos breaks loose. So I could see us seeing some upsets this week. I don't know where they're going to come, but I can see some upsets. I also think, I'll weigh in this because we haven't talked about Indiana yet. I think that's going to be a sleepy Penn State team that comes into Bloomington. They're coming off of a disappointing loss to Ohio State. Coming into Bloomington, probably not going to be a lot of buzz.
Well, who's going to be Indiana's quarterback?
I'm going to disagree with Zach. If it's Jack Tuttle, that's a fireable offense.
If it's Jack Tuttle, it's beyond stupid, in my opinion.
Yes.
For 2 reasons. A, if he was good enough to play, he would have already been playing. He wasn't for a reason. B, he's leaving.
Right.
Why would you give the next guy in line, Dexter Williams? If it's Dexter Williams, Dexter Williams has to be the guy. I don't know that he makes a change, to be honest. I think this could just be gamesmanship.
I think so, too.
And just maybe trying to light a fire under Connor Bazelak's ass. I don't know. He hasn't been bad this year. His accuracy has just been off, but is that because he doesn't have time? I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you, because he's been a solid quarterback. And think about all those drives that they have scored in the waning minutes of the games where he directed those drives and boom, boom, boom. So it's not like he doesn't have the ability. We all know he does not have protection. He does not have a great receiving core and it's been dented up now anyway with Cam Camper out. So what the hell you're going to – the only reason I can see him potentially changing quarterbacks is if Dexter Williams is going to run more, if they're going to do something different in that regard. But other than that, I don't see it happening. I really don't, but we'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. We'll see. I'd like to actually see a 2-quarterback system because I think Dexter Williams does give you something a little bit different. But, Connor Bazelak, he's gotten a lot of heat. But I will say, at times when he's been bad, it's looked really bad. Like just throwing it to the wrong team at times has looked really bad. But like you said, he doesn't get any protection. I would give him an incomplete on this season because you really don't know.
Hey, we've got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear from Mike Woodson, from Miller Kopp.
And Mitchell Paige.
And Mitchell Paige is joining us. All right. At least he's stopping by. Miller didn't stop by. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat, brought to you by Cabela Restaurant, located on the square in Bloomington in the former Grazie location, right on the northeast side as well. Of course, we're coming to you from right here at BB's Market in Bloomington. One of Lee Butler's here. He's in the house. We love him. Appreciate him coming in and having breakfast. We're back with more, including Mitchell Paige, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether you're a business,
that ain't good for Indiana.
What?
Because they don't have a running game.
You guys know how to fix this? Can you see that?
Look at Mitchell Paige.
Did you get hit? What happened?
Remember Mitchell?
It just blew up.
Look at it.
Wow.
Can you see him? He's in the lower left there.
It just blew up on me, man.
Yeah, I subscribed to you, so you should be able to.
You have the worst luck with
just go to YouTube.
driving
stuff up.
Yeah, you can't make this stuff up.
I'm turning this car and maybe they can take it to auction. They can throw it over a cliff. I don't care.
Maybe you can get your own NIL deal or something.
I need something, man. I need something. I want to bash the freaking windows out.
I have never met anybody with worse luck.
It's unbelievable.
Earned a scholarship.
Cannot make it up. Like, look at this. The steering wheel is pointing forward.
I played golf with this dad once.
Wow. The podcast shouldn't even be called This Week in Indiana Football. It should just be
This Week in the Terrible Life of Mitchell.
Where in the world is Mitchell Paige?
Yeah, man. Thank God it happened here when I'm in this neighborhood as opposed to driving through the mountains on Wednesday night.
God. No kidding.
There's skid marks. There's fluid everywhere. Even went flying off the side of the road.
I didn't need to put my headphones into here, Mitchell. I could hear him.
I'm mad.
He has a right to be.
Why are you mad?
Have you been paying attention?
No, I didn't have.
Turn your break.
This
Then
is
Mitchell
why.
can explain what's going on.
Turn your phone sideways. There you go.
And don't say what happened until we come back from break, Mitchell.
But then I can't.
I didn't see. I have no idea.
I'm looking over here. I'm not even looking at you guys.
It's okay. All right, here we go. 30 seconds.
Hey, this is John, the producer with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you can find complete coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to thehoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on the station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore.
Well, welcome back. That noise you're hearing is the from the phone of our good friend Mitchell Paige, who is standing roadside right now. Welcome back. Brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Here at I'm at BB's. What's going on with you, Mitchell?
Just another day. Seems like if you guys are podcast listeners, this is something that I just can't get away from. I'm going to just bring you guys in my front right tire. Can you see this?
I see it.
That feels bad.
It looks bad.
That's not supposed to move like that.
I think that in NASCAR they call that a broken tie rod.
Yeah, it's not good.
Did that just happen?
Yeah, about 15 minutes ago.
Did you hit a pothole? Did you hit a pothole? Did you hit a pothole?
You would think, but no. I'm just driving on a very nicely paved road.
And it just broke?
Yeah. There's fluid everywhere. It was skidding. Thank goodness I was only going like 10 miles an hour.
For those of you who can't see, it's I don't know if you call it a tie rod. It's not a tie rod. I don't know what it is, but it's
whatever.
It's the rod that turns the arm. Yes. And it turns actually when you turn the steering wheel, it's what turns it's completely broken off, and he hit nothing.
Hit nothing. So this car we're saying bye to this car.
I was going to say, do you own the vehicle?
Bad enough.
Do you own the vehicle? So it's your vehicle. You own it. It's not a rental or anything?
Correct.
What kind of car is it?
A Ford Edge.
Somebody put in the comments it must be a Ford.
100%. Ford. I've just found this out. Fix or repair daily is what people say about Ford. Ford. I'll never buy a Ford again. I've had so many issues with this car. It's just ridiculous. It's preposterous.
First on race day, baby. First on race day.
It's crazy. Is that true?
Yeah. How are you doing, brother, other than today?
I'm great. It's been a long time since I've been on the show. I apologize.
I know. We missed you. I sat next to Eric Sewer last night at the basketball game. He was the color guy for the broadcast. And during one of the breaks, I said, "You've been playing golf lately?" And he's like, "That's all I do." And he just brought out the app and showed that I think it was a 2.5 handicap. I said, Mitchell Paige says he's a 0.8.
He played in a tournament that I was in a couple weeks ago, and next time you see him, you can remind him that he got smoked.
Well, I'm sure he knew that last night. Then that's good. Where was that? Was that the one where you came up here for?
Yeah, that was it. Foul.
That you did not call me. You did not reach out to me. I was going to caddy for you. I was going to just be in the gallery. I got nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. That is exactly how it happened. Oh, God.
So there you go. Well, had a basketball game last night. Now we got a football game tomorrow as the Penn State Nittany Lions roll into town. They're probably a little pissed off after losing to Ohio State last week in kind of a tough game. And then they were kind of screwed in the college football playoff poll. There are only 2 losses to Michigan and Ohio State, but yet they're down the list a little bit. We don't know who the quarterback is going to be for either team, as Indiana has gone back to the secrecy, and Penn State has decided to jump on the bandwagon, but I think that's just more of gamesmanship, because I would be shocked not to see Sean Clifford come out for Penn State. He's been there since 1967, so why would they change now? Indiana, we were talking about, if this is not gamesmanship and there was actually a change at quarterback, it has to be Dexter Williams. It cannot be Jack Tuttle. I don't expect there to be a change, to be honest with you. But I also wouldn't be surprised to see them trying to get some experience for Dexter Williams if that is a possibility within the framework of the game. You're muted. Mitchell's muted.
Well, we might not get.
So it's weird. He's not actually muted on here, so I'm not sure what the issue is. It's something with his phone.
What do you think about it, Dustin?
Well, I mean, look, again, I agree with what Zach said in that I don't think, even if you wanted to play Jack Tuttle, he doesn't give you anything different than what Connor Bazelak gives you. So,
they're different. They're completely different quarterbacks. I disagree with that because.
Oh, really? Okay.
Connor Bazelak has some mobility, and I think can move. Jack Tuttle is more of a pocket passer. I mean, he doesn't move at all.
Right.
Our man Mitchell's back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're having that discussion of with Jack Tuttle already saying that he's going to be entering the portal. You cannot play him over somebody else.
That's it. You just cannot. If Jack Tuttle runs out there to take the first snap, the regression that will cause in the program, on a program that seems to be somewhat in free fall, that's kind of a nail in the coffin. That would be so disappointing as an alumni, as a fan, first and foremost. I think Jack Tuttle's, I've said this before, Dustin, so sorry you have to hear it twice, but Jack Tuttle's done some awesome things for the program. He had a big win against Wisconsin, but he's not a Big Ten quarterback, and that's okay. He's a great leader for the team. Guys like him, but he's just not good enough to play in the Big Ten. And putting him back out there after he's already essentially said, see you guys later, thanks for everything, that's just such a big step back. I don't anticipate seeing it. I thought that's what it was going to be a couple days ago, and the tune has kind of changed. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, but that just cannot be the case. Jackson?
Dustin, one thing that we've got to keep in mind also is there is a big threat of rain this Saturday. Normally that would be favoring a team that has a running game, when we know that Indiana has nothing in that area. So is that another reason to look at potentially using Dexter Williams? I don't know, but if there is the rain coming that we are expecting, that's going to make the passing even more difficult. And they're going to have to do some things that I've been wanting them to do all season. Give the ball to Josh Henderson a little bit more. Give the ball to Jalen Lucas a little bit more. Do whatever it takes to do that. Whether it's jet sweeps, swing out passes. I don't understand not doing that, Mitchell. They've got a guy in Josh Henderson who, when he's had the opportunities on the touches, he does good things with them, whether it's receiving or running the ball. Jalen Lucas as well. You just got to get the ball into these guys' hands.
Yeah, I've it's been interesting to see how complicated they've made offense. They've got 15 different motions, jet motions, wheel motions, short They're running all different kinds of crossing. They're doing all this stuff. Football, I'll say the same thing I said on the podcast. Football is a game for idiots. I know. I played. I am an idiot. Make it simple. Keep the game simple. Play fast. Run vertical. Get the ball to your guys now. They don't need to run in motion 15 times. We don't need to act like we're throwing one way, throw a screen. We don't need to do all this. The game is simple. Keep it simple. You've got a quarterback that doesn't have protection. You need to run quick hitting, go routes with options underneath. They need to be quick progression throws. And everything seems like it's a full field read. It's a big 5-step drop, 7-step drop. It's long developing quote unquote creative plays that you just don't have time for. And I would love to see him be simpler, especially with the effectiveness that you've gotten from Henderson and Lucas. Keep it simple. Henderson has been a problem out of the backfield. I would love to see them.
I've asked that question all year and never really gotten an answer. The answer that we keep getting is, yeah, we're looking at that, and it's situational, and it's BS.
Yeah.
Give him the damn ball, period. Just give him the damn ball. That's all you have to say. Run a play. Call a play that I think he's 26. Call a play that 26 is handed the ball, thrown the ball. I don't care what it is. You just have to do it.
I don't know what his averages are rushing, but it seems like every time he touches the ball, he's getting 3, which reminds me so much of Jordan Howard.
He's closer to 4.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was last game, maybe, or the game before last. He had like 8 touches and 80 yards. Every time he touched the ball, he was averaging 10 yards. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's like, give him the damn ball. But oh well.
I would love to see him be the starting running back. I really like the way that kid runs.
Here it is. You ready for these? You ready for these totals? This is gonna make somebody mad. Sean Shivers, 103 carries, 3.9 yards per carry.
That's not bad. It's not as bad as I thought.
No,
Josh Henderson, 4 yards.
Josh Henderson, 56 attempts, 4.3 yards per carry. Yep. Jalen Lucas, 24 touches, 5.1 yards per carry.
Yeah, and I think when you're looking at those numbers, those can be pretty misleading. Sean Shivers has had a couple big ones where he gets some space. When I'm watching a running back, what tells me that he's an every down back and somebody that's going to be critical to the offensive system is, what does he get when there's nothing there? Is he doing kind of what Sean Shivers feels like happens sometimes, where he just runs into the line of scrimmage and we've got 2nd and 11? Or is he finding a way to make it 2nd and 7 and now you still have your whole playbook open? I feel like Henderson is just, every time he touches the ball, he's going forward. And that's one of the most undervalued skills in a running back. It's what made Jordan Howard so great. He just kept us on schedule. And you need a guy that does that. It makes it easier on everybody when you have 2nd and 7 versus 2nd and 12.
Well, we'll see tomorrow because it's supposed to rain, so we'll see how that.
Here's the other thing too about the rain. Really quick, go back. It can be a great equalizer. I almost think Indiana should pray for rain because Northwestern is a terrible football team, and Penn State beat them 17-7. Like, that was, at least they had chances because Penn State couldn't hang on to the football. So couple that with the fact that you're coming off of a disappointing loss where your Big Ten title hopes were dashed, college football playoff hopes were dashed. I think if it rains, it might benefit Indiana in this case.
We'll see about that. Mitchell, I know you're also a basketball fan. Indiana wrapped up their exhibition season, 2 wins last night. They played St. Francis. Damon Bailey's son was on there.
That was so cool.
Did you get to see any of that game?
I have not been able to watch either of them.
Well, the reason I ask is because, and I've talked a lot about this today, I know, but his son, Brayton Bailey, 6'1", was guarding Race Thompson all night in the post. And I mean, pushing on him. Hey, Race had 6 points, baby.
Okay.
They were getting on. It was fun to watch, actually. I really enjoyed it. But Mike Woodson last night afterwards, I asked him about, all these rotations, but once we get closer to crunch time, is there a number in his head that he wants to get to? And he was pretty artful at dodging that.
It's hard to say, man. I wish I could play everybody 30 minutes on this team, but it's impossible. But when you're building a team, and I've said this, when you get minutes, you got to make the most minutes, the most out of those minutes. You got to help us win. And if you don't play, you still got to be a good teammate, because you never know when your time will come. Somebody gets hurt and you grumbling and mumbling about not playing, and then now you're not ready to play. So I don't think we have that amongst our team. I think we got 17 guys. I mean, it's kind of nice to see what the walk-ons did today. and coming in there, and not ever really playing much in the game. And they were solid based on the fact that they've been with us too, going through the grueling practices every day. So, I just think we got a good team that everybody's going to have to sacrifice and be willing to buy in to do what we need to do to get where we need to go.
There he goes. You hear walk on, you think about Mitchell Paige, baby.
Yes, sir.
The king of them went from there. But getting ready to enjoy some IU basketball. The regular season starts on Monday. Hopefully you can come up for a game sometime this winter.
Yeah, I would love to watch them. It sounds like Putchafino and Malik Reneau, or however you say his name.
Renew.
They feel like the real deal.
They are, absolutely. Well, brother, I wish I could send Dustin over to help you with that tire because he's much closer than I am. That sucks. But man, oh man, and we hate to leave you. The show's ending, so we got to leave you on the side of the road all by yourself. And at least we were here to keep you company.
Yeah, I can always count on you guys. In my time of need, I can just count on you guys.
We love you, Mitchell Paige. I cannot believe only you can do that. That's amazing. Well, brother, I appreciate you taking the time to join us with the broken down vehicle on the side of the road.
Absolutely.
I hope you have a good. No, we'll do it again next week. Hope have a good golf game this weekend. I hope.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com, always with us each day. Our co-host, big thanks to him as well. Alec Lasley from thehoosier.com. Make sure you go there. They've got 50% off right now. Go get a subscription to thehoosier.com for complete, up-to-date inside information, recruiting news, nonstop. Also, Zach Osterman from the Indy Star. Big thanks to him as well. Most importantly, and John, the producer, for keeping the train rolling. Thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. We're back again on Monday, and then Monday night, we will have our first basketball postgame show because it's the real deal, baby. We don't mess with those pregame exhibition deals, but we'll be here on Monday night for IU basketball postgame as well. So until Monday, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat